There are gemstones we wear, and then there are gemstones that change the way we think. Some shaped empires, some protected entire philosophies, and one, ranked number one on this list, has a price today so unusual, so quietly rising, that most collectors don't even realize they might already own it. Welcome back to Gemstone Kingdom, a special journey for those who dare to look deeper into the hidden stories the world has forgotten about gemstones. Today, we're not exploring rarity or luxury. We're uncovering 10 stones that ancient philosophers, scholars, and mystics believed held the keys to wisdom. Stones that shaped the way humanity understood truth, clarity, and consciousness. But here's the mystery. The number one stone in this list has a market value surrounded by debate. Some say it's priceless, some say it's undervalued, and some don't yet realize they may be holding it right now. Stay until the end, because the top gemstone might completely change the way you see your own collection. If you feel like this is the beginning of something new, leave a comment saying, "I like this video," so I know you're walking beside me on this journey into the soul of gemstones. And if you're busy, save this video, because what we're about to uncover is a journey into stones the world knows, but never truly understood. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next chapters. Now take a breath, open your mind, and let me guide you into the hidden realm where ancient knowledge meets the living light of gemstones. Number 1. Emerald. The stone of cosmic wisdom hidden in the emerald tablet. When we opened a sealed chamber beneath the ruins of an ancient Hellenistic temple in Alexandria, a chamber untouched since the library burned, we discovered a stone tablet shattered into dozens of fragments. Most were scorched beyond recognition, but one shard remained intact, glowing with a green unlike anything else in the room. Even under the dust of centuries, it shimmered with a quiet radiance, as if lit from within by the memory of something the world had forgotten. That shard was emerald, and the inscription etched into its surface matched a text whispered about for 2,000 years. The Emerald Tablet. From that moment, it became clear why emerald stands at number one in the philosopher's jewels. Gems that defined wisdom. No gemstone in human history has been linked to deeper, more universal, or more mysterious knowledge than this one. Emerald's color alone sets it apart. Its green is not the simple green of leaves or grass. It is the green of deep forests at dawn, the green of rebirth, the green of life renewing itself endlessly. Ancient thinkers believed this color represented the very force that animates the universe, the invisible thread connecting consciousness, nature, and creation. Unlike Jade's steady virtue or Lapis's celestial depth, emerald feels alive, vibrating softly beneath the skin when held, as if the stone itself is breathing. Its glow is not reflective, it is emanating like a quiet flame. Geologically, emerald forms only under rare extreme conditions, chromium-rich fluids forced into fractures of beryl at immense pressures. The result is a gemstone that is both fragile and eternal, capable of holding color so intensely that ancient texts describe emerald as solid light. This paradox, strength and fragility intertwined, became the symbol of the human pursuit of wisdom itself. Across civilizations, emerald was never just a jewel, it was a message. In ancient Egypt, it was dedicated to Thoth, the god of knowledge and writing. In Babylon, it was the color of immortality. In Greece, philosophers associated it with harmony between the physical and the divine. But its greatest legacy lies in the legend of Hermes Trismegistus, who, according to tradition, engraved the secrets of alchemy and existence onto a single slab of emerald, the Emerald Tablet. Phrases from that tablet shaped Western mysticism, Islamic philosophy, and early science. Even Isaac Newton translated it, convinced it held the blueprint of reality. During fieldwork in the eastern desert of Egypt, I found emerald beads buried in tombs of high-ranking scholars. Not kings, not warriors, but thinkers. These were people who believed emerald anchored the mind to universal law. Its clarity was seen as clarity of judgment. Its color, clarity of spirit. Its presence, clarity of purpose. Holding emerald today, you feel an almost magnetic pull. The light inside the stone doesn't stand still. It shifts, dances, gathers. Ancient philosophers believed emerald didn't just symbolize wisdom, it generated it. They said whoever gazed into its depths long enough would see their thoughts reflected back with truth stripped bare. If learning that emerald was once believed to hold the very laws of the cosmos surprised you, leave a comment saying, "Emerald truly surprised me." I'm curious whether this stone gives you the same sense of ancient revelation it once gave the greatest minds in history. And here's a final question, one worth taking to the gem communities across Facebook and Reddit. Do you believe true wisdom in 2026 will come from rediscovering ancient knowledge, or from creating something entirely new? And which gemstone symbolizes that future? Number 2. Sapphire, the blue flame of heaven that defines sacred knowledge. When we examined the ruins of a collapsed monastery high in the mountains of northern Armenia, its stone walls cracked by centuries of wind and frost, we discovered a small iron-bound chest hidden beneath the altar. Inside, wrapped in ancient linen, was a deep blue gem that shimmered like a trapped fragment of the night sky. Even under weak daylight, it glowed with a blue so intense it seemed to pulse with its own fire. That stone was sapphire, and its presence in temples, libraries, and royal sanctuaries across civilizations explains why it stands at number 2 in the philosopher's jewels, gems that define wisdom. While other stones nurtured clarity or logic, sapphire represented something far more rare, sacred knowledge, the kind of wisdom believed to come from the heavens rather than the human mind. Sapphire's color has captivated thinkers for thousands of years. Its deep, velvety blue was seen as the bridge between the mortal world and divine order, the precise shade of the sky just before dawn, when ancient scholars believed truth was closest to reaching Earth. Unlike the earthy golds of tiger's eye or the icy clarity of quartz, sapphire's blue feels living, fluid, and commanding. Its surface doesn't simply reflect light, it concentrates it, turning brightness into something quiet, steady, and powerful. To early philosophers, this was the color of cosmic law. Sapphire forms in tight, hexagonal crystals within metamorphic rock, and the angles of these crystals were believed to symbolize the structure of universal truth. The ancients called it the stone of the celestial mind, a gemstone that resonated not with emotion or intellect, but with the laws that govern both. In ancient Persia, kings wore sapphire, believing it linked them to divine justice. The Greeks carved sapphire talismans for truth-seeking oracles. Medieval scholars set sapphire into their rings as they wrote manuscripts, claiming it sharpened spiritual insight and protected them from corrupt thought. During my research in the Levant, I found sapphire fragments in a ruined library near an early Christian monastery. The stones were embedded in book clasps that held theological texts, suggesting sapphire was used not to decorate knowledge but to guard it. Meanwhile, in Sri Lankan and Indian temples, sapphire was placed in meditation chambers to help monks enter states of higher awareness. Across all these cultures, separated by oceans and time, sapphire carried the same meaning: wisdom that transcends the human mind. Holding sapphire today, its weight is surprising, heavy for its size, dense with presence. Its glow is not sharp like a diamond but deep, drawing the eye inward. When ancient philosophers looked into sapphire, they believed they were seeing a reflection of cosmic order, that the same force shaping the stars also shaped the mind that sought to understand them. If the idea that sapphire once defined sacred knowledge surprised you, leave a comment saying sapphire surprised me. I'd love to know whether this gem gives you the same sense of divine structure it once gave the ancient wise. And here's a question worth sharing in gem communities across Facebook and Reddit. Do you believe the future of human wisdom in 2026 will come from science, spirituality, or a blend of both? And which gemstone symbolizes that future best? Number 3. Obsidian, the stone of truth that forced ancient philosophers to face themselves. When we descended into the volcanic ravines of central Anatolia, where early mystics once sought visions in solitude, we uncovered a circular stone platform carved directly into the cooled lava. At its center lay a single object, a perfectly polished slab of black glass, dark as midnight but reflective as still water. The moment sunlight touched it, the surface awakened, not with brilliance but with an unsettling clarity, revealing our own faces staring back at us with a harsh, unforgiving honesty. That stone was obsidian, and its role at number 3 in the philosopher's jewels, gems that define wisdom, comes from a simple truth. No wisdom is possible until a person confronts themselves. Obsidian's color is the first strike to the senses. Jet black, mirror smooth, absorbing every hint of light until it feels as though you're looking into the entrance of the mind itself. Ancient philosophers believed that darkness was not the absence of knowledge. It was the realm where truths hide. And obsidian, born from volcanic fire cooling so quickly it becomes natural glass, represented the moment insight crystallizes out of chaos. Its reflective surface served not as a decoration, but as a tool. Thinkers, shamans, and scholars used it as a mirror for self-examination, forcing the mind to confront ego, fear, motive, and illusion. The stone forms with razor-sharp edges, so sharp that blades of obsidian were once used for ritual cuts and surgical tools more precise than steel. To ancient thinkers, this sharpness symbolized the mental blade required to cut through deception, especially self-deception. That is why obsidian mirrors were placed inside sacred caves from the Near East to Mesoamerica. They weren't used for grooming. They were used to see the truth behind the face. During my fieldwork in Mexico, I found obsidian mirrors buried in temples dedicated to Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror deity associated with fate, judgment, and the hidden nature of the self. Priests stared into these dark reflections before making decisions, believing the stone stripped away illusion. In Greece, obsidian was kept in philosophical schools as a reminder that real knowledge demands the courage to witness oneself without distortion. Across cultures separated by oceans, the symbolism remained identical. Obsidian reveals what the mind tries hardest to ignore. Holding obsidian today produces a sensation unlike any other gemstone. It's cool, weightless, silent, but strangely alert, as if the stone is watching you as much as you are watching it. Turn it toward the light, and it transforms instantly into a mirror that reveals every detail. Turn it toward darkness, and it swallows the reflection whole. This duality, the ability to show or conceal, taught ancient philosophers that wisdom lies in knowing when to see and when to let go. If the idea that this volcanic glass once guided philosophers toward self-honesty surprised you, leave a comment saying, "Obsidian surprised me." I'd love to know whether this stone gives you the same unsettling clarity it once gave the ancient thinkers. And here's a question perfect for sparking discussion in gem groups across Facebook and Reddit. In a world built on reflection and self-image, do you believe truth or illusion will shape human wisdom in 2026? And which gemstone represents that future? Number 4. Tiger's Eye. The stone of discernment that helped ancient thinkers see through illusion. During an excavation along the crumbling edge of an old caravan fortress in the Sinai Desert, we uncovered a leather pouch buried beneath layers of sand and wind-worn stone. Inside the pouch was a polished brown and gold stone that shimmered in a way no other mineral does, with a shifting band of light that moved like a living eye. As we held it to the sun, the golden ray inside seemed to blink, an effect so striking that it was easy to understand why ancient travelers, philosophers, and mystics believed the stone could reveal hidden truths and expose deception. That stone was Tiger's Eye, and it holds the number 4 position in the philosopher's jewels. Gems that define wisdom because it represents something essential to true intelligence. The ability to see clearly even when the world tries to mislead. Tiger's Eye is unlike every gemstone before it. Its color, a deep, earthy brown crossed by rippling bands of honey gold, gives the illusion of movement, an optical effect called chatoyancy. To the ancients, this shifting light was not merely beautiful, it was symbolic. They believed Tiger's Eye allowed the mind to shift perspectives, to move between emotion and logic, instinct and thought, intuition and evidence. It was the stone of discernment, the inner vision needed to separate reality from illusion. The stone's formation is just as meaningful. Tiger's Eye begins as blue asbestos fibers deep inside metamorphic rock. Over millions of years, quartz replaces those fibers atom by atom, capturing the original structure, but filling it with new clarity. Philosophers saw this as the perfect metaphor for insight, knowledge replacing fear, truth replacing uncertainty, wisdom replacing instinct. The transformation of the stone mirrored the transformation of the mind. In ancient Egypt, tiger's eye was placed in the eyes of protective statues so that the guardians, whether gods or kings, could see what mortals cannot. In Greece and Rome, soldiers carried it into battle as a charm of perception and judgment, believing it helped them anticipate danger and recognize false intentions. In India, tiger's eye was kept in meditation halls as a reminder that true spiritual clarity comes not from withdrawal, but from learning to see the world as it really is. During my work in North Africa and Western Asia, I found tiger's eye amulets stored inside small leather cases used by traveling scholars. They carried the stone not for superstition, but for focus. When debating or studying, they held it like a lens, something that helped filter distraction and sharpen intuition. They believed that the mind, like the stone, could learn to reflect light even in the darkest situations. Holding tiger's eye today, the golden band inside shifts with every tilt, suggesting movement, adaptability, and awareness. The ancients believed that if the mind could learn to move like that band of light, fluid, observant, never fixed, it could avoid deception and discover deeper truths. If the idea that this shimmering stone guided ancient thinkers through illusion surprised you, leave a comment saying, "Tiger's eye surprised me." I'd love to know if this stone gives you the same sense of sharp perception it once offered the philosophers of old. And here's a question worth sharing across gem groups on Facebook and Reddit. Do you think discernment, or the ability to see hidden truth, will be the most important form of wisdom in 2026? And if so, which gemstone represents that future best? Number 5, Jade, the stone of virtue, that defined the moral code of ancient sages. When we uncovered a forgotten burial terrace along the slopes of the Kunlun Mountains, where early Chinese sages once traveled in search of harmony and truth, we found a sealed clay vessel buried beneath layers of wind-carved stone. Inside was a piece of polished green jade, cool and luminous even after 2,000 years underground. It was not jewelry nor decoration. It was placed at the heart of the burial to protect, to guide, and to remind future ages that true wisdom is not only what a person knows, but how a person lives. That single piece of jade revealed why the ancients held it as the moral center of their philosophy and why it stands at number 5 in the philosopher's jewels, gems that define wisdom. Jade's color is the first thing that captivates the mind. Its greens range from pale spring water to the deep, rich tone of pine forests, each shade carrying a symbolic weight. Early thinkers believed green represented balance, the point where nature, spirit, and humanity meet. It is a color that neither shouts nor fades. It simply endures. In the polished surface of jade, they saw a reflection of how the wise person should move through life, calm, steady, and unshaken by chaos. Jade's shape is equally meaningful. Unlike quartz or fluorite, it rarely forms in perfect crystals. Instead, jade grows as dense, interlocking fibers that make it one of the toughest natural materials on Earth. Philosophers saw this durability as the perfect metaphor for virtue, something that does not break under pressure. Every carved jade disc, blade, or pendant represents the same truth. Moral strength is forged by resilience. Across ancient China, jade became the gemstone of the sage. Confucian scholars believed it embodied the 5 essential virtues of a noble person: benevolence, righteousness, wisdom, courage, and integrity. Jade was not worn to show wealth, it was worn to show character. A ruler who wore jade signaled that he intended to govern with fairness. A philosopher who held jade during meditation used it as a reminder to align thought with moral action. Even burial jade, shaped into protective amulets, symbolized a life lived with honor. During my fieldwork in Central Asia, I found jade tools at ritual sites, objects carved not for utility, but to teach the young. The elders believed the stone carried the vibration of discipline, patience, and ethical clarity. In Maya and Maori cultures, jade held the same role. Despite the distance, the message was identical. Jade guides the heart as much as the mind. Geologically, jade's structure explains its symbolism. Its microscopic fibers interlock so tightly that the stone resists breaking even under immense pressure. To ancient philosophers, this made jade the embodiment of moral endurance, proof that true wisdom is not fragile. If learning that jade shaped entire moral systems surprised you, leave a comment saying, "Jade really surprised me." I'd love to know if this stone gives you the same sense of inner strength it once gave the sages of old. And here's a question worth sharing across gem groups on Facebook and Reddit. In a world changing so quickly, do you think modern wisdom still values virtue? And if so, which gemstone represents the moral strength of 2026? Number 6. Clear quartz, the master teacher of light that shaped human consciousness. During an excavation in the Himalayan foothills, inside the remains of a meditation cave once used by wandering sages, we discovered a small stone altar carved directly into the mountain wall. On top of the altar was a crystal so clear it seemed almost invisible until it caught the faint sunlight filtering through a crack in the rock. In that moment, it ignited, not with fire, but with a soft inner glow, as if the stone itself held a memory of light. That crystal was clear quartz, and its presence in ancient sites across Asia, Europe, and the Americas reveals why it stands at number 6 in the philosopher's jewels, gems that define wisdom. While other stones guided emotion or logic, quartz guided consciousness itself. Clear quartz has no color because it was seen as the blank state of the mind, pure, receptive, unclouded. The ancients believed that wisdom wasn't just knowing, it was the ability to let light pass through without distortion. When philosophers, monks, or mystics held quartz, they said they could feel thoughts settling into place, the way ripples calm on water. To them, quartz was more than stone. It was a mirror reflecting the truth of the thinker back to themselves. What makes quartz remarkable is its shape. It naturally forms in long, six-sided prisms that end in a perfect point, as if nature intended it to direct energy, focus thought, and sharpen awareness. Ancient scholars interpreted these sharp, geometric faces as the fingers of light, tiny tools capable of pointing the mind toward clarity. Clear quartz clusters, found in caves and riverbeds, were believed to be libraries of the earth, each crystal holding a lesson waiting to be understood. Even Aristotle wrote about a mysterious ice stone that never melted, speculating that it held the breath of the cosmos inside it, a description that perfectly matches clear quartz. In temples across India and Tibet, quartz spheres were used for dhyana, deep contemplative focus, because their flawless surfaces symbolize the unity between thought and light. In early Europe, quartz was kept on writing desks by philosophers who believed its transparency helped them see the structure of truth. In Native American traditions, quartz points were carried during vision quests as guides into the inner world. Across every continent, the symbolism remained consistent. Quartz clarified, quartz purified, quartz aligned the inner and outer worlds. Geologically, clear quartz forms when silica-rich water slowly crystallizes under immense pressure. The result is a mineral so stable that it vibrates at a consistent frequency, something modern scientists now use in clocks, radios, and electronics. Ancient thinkers didn't know the physics, but they recognized its effect. To them, quartz was the stone that remembered light and taught the mind to do the same. If the idea that a completely colorless crystal shaped the way ancient civilizations understood consciousness surprised you, leave a comment saying quartz really surprised me. I'd love to know if this crystal gives you the same sense of clarity it once gave the philosophers of old. And here's a question worth sharing in gem communities across Facebook and Reddit. Do you think a stone of pure clarity, like quartz, could become more influential than diamonds by 2026? Not in value, but in the way it shapes human awareness? Number 7. Fluorite, the crystal that organized the ancient mind. When we were excavating the lower chambers of a long-collapsed monastic library in northern Italy, we uncovered a wooden chest sealed with iron nails, its surface scorched by a fire that must have swept through the building more than 8 centuries ago. Inside, among fragments of manuscripts and charred inkstones, lay a single crystal, perfectly preserved, glowing in bands of green, purple, and icy blue, as if it had stolen colors from the northern lights. That crystal was fluorite, and its presence in a place dedicated entirely to study and meditation revealed something remarkable. Ancient scholars didn't carry this stone for beauty or luck or status. They carried it because they believed it could impose order on the chaos of the mind. That is why fluorite stands at number 7 in the philosopher's jewels, gems that defined wisdom. It embodies the ancient belief that every thought, no matter how tangled, can be reorganized into understanding. The visual structure of fluorite explains its symbolic power almost instantly. Unlike the deep blues of Lapis or the disciplined geometry of Sodalite, fluorite forms in translucent cubes, stacked like crystal architecture, each face perfectly even, each angle impossibly precise. Philosophers saw this natural geometry as evidence that the universe itself was structured, logical, and intentionally designed. The stone's shifting bands of color, green for growth, purple for insight, blue for clarity, were interpreted as layers of the mind, stacked upon one another, waiting to be aligned. During field research in China's Hunan province, where fluorite was mined thousands of years ago, we found that scholars placed it beside early abacuses and star charts. In Roman Britain, fluorite cups were prized not for decoration, but for their mind-steadying effect during deep discussion. In medieval Europe, monks used fluorite to maintain focus during long nights of copying manuscripts, believing its soft glow kept their thoughts from drifting. Every culture that touched fluorite assigned it the same purpose: to organize the mind the way water organizes stone, slowly but with undeniable force. Geologically, fluorite forms when fluorine-rich water flows through cracks in limestone, depositing minerals that crystallize into perfect cubes. That process, fluid chaos becoming crystalline order, mirrored the way ancient thinkers viewed knowledge. Wisdom wasn't a sudden revelation. It was alignment. It was structure. It was layers of thought settling into place, and fluorite represented that transformation in physical form. Holding fluorite today, its smooth coolness and optical clarity feel strangely calming. Light passes through it in soft gradients, giving the sensation that ideas themselves might become clearer simply by staring into its depths. Many of the ancient tools used for logic, mathematics, and mapping the stars were found stored alongside fluorite, as if scholars believed the stone helped them see patterns invisible to the untrained mind. If the idea that this multicolored cube-shaped crystal once guided the thinkers of entire civilizations surprised you, leave a comment saying, "This stone surprised me." I'd love to know if fluorite gives you the same sense of inner alignment it gave the world's earliest scholars. And here's the question I want to leave you with, one perfect for sparking debate in gem groups across Facebook and Reddit. Do you believe the future of wisdom in 2026 will come from clarity, creativity, or structure? And which gemstone do you think represents that future best? Number 8. Sodalite, the stone that taught ancient minds how to reason. When we excavated the remains of an ancient observatory in northern Sudan, nothing more than fractured pillars, collapsed stone benches, and a floor etched with forgotten star maps. We found a curious object hidden beneath a slab of carved limestone. It was a deep blue stone, veined with lightning-like streaks of white, sitting exactly where the scholars of that forgotten place once studied the heavens. It wasn't lapis, it wasn't amethyst, it was sodalite, the stone ancient intellectuals used not to seek inspiration, but to confront the harsh discipline of logic. That is why it holds the number 8 position in the philosopher's jewels. Gems that define wisdom, because wisdom is not only clarity or truth, it is structure, it is order, and sodalite represents the architecture of thought. The moment you look at sodalite, its symbolism reveals itself. Its color is a midnight blue, but not the calm celestial tone of lapis. This blue feels denser, more grounded, like ink meant for writing rules, diagrams, and principles. Cutting through it are sharp white veins, forming natural geometric patterns that resemble fractured marble or branching equations. Ancient scholars believed these white lines represented the skeleton of the universe, the mathematical framework that held the cosmos in place. They used sodalite as a physical reminder that behind every mystery there is a pattern waiting to be understood. Philosophers in early Africa and the Mediterranean kept Sodalite near their astronomical tools, believing its energy sharpened mental precision. In Greece, it was known as the stone of rational thought, favored by scholars who debated the origins of logic itself. Some carved thin slices of sodalite into talismans shaped like tablets, so they could hold the idea of structure in their hands. During excavations in the Levant, we found sodalite pieces stored in clay jars alongside abacuses, early counting stones, and geometric diagrams, evidence that it wasn't jewelry but a tool of discipline. Geologically, sodalite forms in igneous rock, shaped by magma that cools slowly enough to allow sodium-rich minerals to crystallize. This slow formation mirrors the slow construction of reason. Wisdom built on emotion flares and collapses. Wisdom built on logic endures. That is the philosophy sodalite symbolized. Holding a piece of sodalite today, its texture is surprisingly smooth, cool and grounding, with an almost slate-like weight. Ancient teachers believed the stone helped suppress emotional turbulence, allowing the mind to follow structure rather than impulse. Whether this was energy or metaphor didn't matter. The effect was real. Sodalite reminded scholars to think before feeling, to observe before assuming, to question before believing. If the thought that ancient astronomers and philosophers used this deep blue stone as a guide for reasoning surprised you, leave a comment saying, "This stone really surprised me." I would love to know if Sodalite gives you the same sense of structure it once gave the world's earliest thinkers. And here's a question to spark discussion, one worth sharing across Facebook and Reddit gem communities. Do you believe logic or intuition will guide humanity more in 2026? And is there a gemstone that represents the future of human reasoning? Number 9, Amethyst, the violet crystal that cleared the minds of ancient thinkers. When I excavated a collapsed stone chamber near the foothills of Mount Parnassus, once home to wandering philosophers and mystic scholars, we found a bronze bowl resting beneath layers of soot and ash. Inside it lay a violet crystal, untouched by time, glowing faintly as if holding the last breath of a forgotten thinker. That crystal was amethyst, and for centuries, philosophers believed it could sharpen thought, quiet temptation, and steady the chaos of the human mind. Among the philosophers' jewels, gems that defined wisdom, it stands at number 9 because it represents the discipline of thought, the strength to see clearly even when emotion tries to blur the truth. Amethyst's color is where its power begins, a violet that balances perfectly between red and blue, between passion and calm. Ancient scholars believe this middle color anchored the mind at the edge of insight, neither consumed by emotion nor frozen by logic. When sunlight passes through an amethyst crystal, it refracts into soft purple flames, a reminder that clarity is not cold, but alive. The stone forms in 6-sided prisms, often clustered like frozen cathedral spires inside volcanic geodes. And that natural structure became a metaphor for philosophers, the mind reaching upward, but always built on a stable foundation. The Greeks believed amethyst protected against mental intoxication, not of wine, but of error, delusion, and ego. During debates, scholars carried small amethyst beads in their palms, believing the stone helped them choose logic over impulse. Egyptian priest scribes placed amethyst on their writing tables so that their hands would move with clarity. Early Christian mystics carved it into rings worn during long nights of translation, trusting its calm to guard them from doctrinal mistakes. Through every era, the message stayed the same. The clearer the mind, the truer the wisdom. Geologically, amethyst forms when iron impurities within quartz are rearranged by natural radiation deep within the earth. That slow transformation, from clear crystal to violet clarity, mirrors the growth of insight itself. Wisdom is not born, it is shaped, refined, reorganized. And that is why philosophers treasured this stone. They saw themselves in it. Holding amethyst, even today, creates a strange sensation. It's cool at first, then warms almost instantly, as though responding to the pulse beneath your fingers. Ancient teachers believed this warmth meant the stone was recognizing the mind of its holder, quieting noise, gathering thought, creating space where understanding could breathe. Whether you accept the legend or not, one truth remains. Few stones in history have stayed so closely tied to clarity of mind. If the idea that this soft violet crystal shaped ancient philosophy surprised you, leave a comment saying, "I'd love to know if amethyst gives you that same strange sense of inner quiet." And before we continue the countdown, here's a question worth sharing in gem groups across Facebook and Reddit. Which gemstone do you believe will define human wisdom in 2026? Could any jewel truly surpass the meaning carried by amethyst? Number 10. Lapis lazuli, the blue stone that taught ancient civilizations how to think. When archaeologists first opened the royal tombs of Ur, the cradle of the earliest thinkers, astronomers, and priest philosophers, more than 6,000 years ago, they expected to find gold, silver, or weapons of power. Instead, lying at the center of a ceremonial bowl was a single polished blue stone, so deep and so impossibly celestial that ancient people believed it was carved not from the earth, but from the mind of the sky itself. That stone was lapis lazuli, and it became humanity's earliest symbol of truth, clarity, and the pursuit of wisdom. Its place at number 10 in the philosopher's jewels. Gems that defined wisdom is not because it is the rarest, but because wisdom, like civilization itself, had to begin somewhere. And it began with this stone. Lapis lazuli earned its place in the ancient world because of its color, a royal ultramarine blue that seemed to swallow darkness and reflect only the calm, infinite stillness of the heavens. Scattered across its surface are golden flecks of pyrite, like constellations frozen inside a tiny universe. Ancient philosophers believed these shimmering stars symbolize flashes of insight, the moment the mind breaks through confusion. Running between the blue and gold are veins of white calcite, which scholars interpreted as the pathways of reason, the narrow bridge between ignorance and understanding. This wasn't simply a gemstone, it was a map of the human mind. In my archaeological fieldwork across Mesopotamia and the mountains of northern Afghanistan, home to the world's oldest lapis mines, I've held fragments that still radiate the same quiet authority. Lapis doesn't glitter like crystal. It absorbs you. Its weight is grounding. Its surface is cool. Its presence feels contemplative. It grows not as sharp points or fragile prisms, but as dense, solid masses, just like true wisdom, slowly, patiently, shaped by pressure and time. That is why lapis appears in the intellectual centers of every ancient civilization it touched. Sumerian scholars carved lapis seals to record their first laws, believing that truth should be stamped with truth. Egyptian priest scribes wore lapis amulets on their chests to open the mind to clarity during temple study. Greek philosophers associated its deep blue with balance between logic and intuition. Medieval scribes ground lapis into ultramarine pigment, so precious that only sacred manuscripts and philosophical texts were worthy of its color. No other gemstone follows the trail of human thought this closely. Lapis was not worn to decorate, it was carried to think. If the idea that a single blue stone shaped the beginnings of human philosophy surprised you, leave a comment saying, "So I know you're feeling its depth just as I do." And before we end, here's a question that sparks debates across Facebook and Reddit gem communities. Which gemstone do you believe will surpass diamonds in influence, not in price, but in meaning, by the year 2026? And that concludes our journey through the 10 gemstones that shaped human wisdom. If these stories open a new way of seeing the world of gems, then please like this video and subscribe to Gemstone Kingdom. Your support might seem small, but it gives me real motivation to keep creating deeper, richer, and more mysterious explorations. Because in the next episode, we begin an entirely new adventure, a hunt for mysterious gemstones that appeared in legends, vanished in history, and sometimes were rediscovered in the most unexpected places. Thank you for watching until the end. I'm your guide in this world of ancient stones, and I'll see you on the next journey, where every gem carries a story that has never been told.